Well, hey there, my little babies. Welcome back to another episode of What the Smut Book Reviews. Hi, it's me, your host, Candace. Your absentee friend, Candace. Hi. How are you? Have you missed me? I've missed you. I am so far behind in books and reviews. It is ridiculous. So today we are going to try and get back into the swing of things because I'll be honest, I haven't recorded a review in like a year. No, that's a lie. I recorded a review of my own book a couple of months ago. I have not recorded anything before that for like a year. Sad. Anyway, in today's video, we are going to try and get back into the swing of things by reviewing this book. Now, this is Nero by S.J. Tilley. This is book 1 in the Alliance series. There are, as far as I know, 4 books in the series. Don't hold me to that though, because you know I don't do my research. But this is book 1. And as you can see, OG cover featuring what many would consider hot man. I don't hate him. Will I say that he's my favorite cover model ever? No. But I think the reason that he looks like this is because his character is older, which is, I don't want to say uncommon in romance novels, but I feel like the sweet spot for age in a male main character age in a romance novel is like 25 to 35. That's like the sweet spot. Everybody's character is between 25 and 35, right? You rarely find under 25 unless it's like a bully romance, or over 35, rarely. In my historical whatever, my experience, I've only read a few books where the main male character is over 35, unless it's like a proper age gap romance, and then they'll make the main male character older. Does that make sense? Right. Okay. Anyway, you don't have to agree. It's just my humble opinion. Okay. But that's what I have experienced. These characters in this book, all of these, like all the books in the series so far, and I'm on book 4 now, have been age gaps. The main male character is at least 39 or 40 years old. And then the female character is usually like early 20s. So proper age gap, like you're talking 15 plus, nearly 20 years. Like I think book 2 in this series, there was like a 16-year age gap. Again, don't quote me. Because you know my brain is shit and I don't remember shit for shit. So could I be jumbling that with one of the other books? Probably. It's a definite possibility. Anyway, hi, my name's Candace and I'm your host. I've already introduced myself. If you've been here before, you already know what to expect, which is me giving unwanted opinions and my 2 cents, getting sidetracked 5 billion times, and a review that's going to last about an hour and a half with 15 minutes worth of actual book talk. If you're not here for that, tune out. Go find somebody else. Find one of those booktubers who have like the greatly made thumbnails with like the stack of, you know what I'm saying, in front of a bookshelf, and they just look super cute. My bookshelf is covered in dust. My shelves covered in dust. Don't look at it. We're not going to talk about it. My life is a mess. I'm barely hanging on. If you can relate, hit the like button on this video. Anyway, in today's video, we are going to be reviewing Nero. Now, this book is currently free to read with KU. If you want to purchase this book for your Kindle, you can get it for $4.99. If you want this paperback that I'm currently holding, and as far as I know, this paperback is still available. I know a lot of indie authors tend to discontinue their original paperback covers in favor of like a discrete cover or a special edition cover or whatever. And usually authors who have done their first publication of a book with a paperback cover that has a person on it gets taken down pretty quickly. Like their career evolves, they get popular, those covers become like out of print, right? As far as I know, these covers are still in print. Again, don't quote me. But if you want this paperback or a paperback of this book on Amazon, you can get it for $15.99. If you want the hardcover for this book, it is available on Amazon for $25.99. Now, do I think $25.99 is pricey for a hardcover book on Amazon? Yes. But then again, my paperback for my book is $17.99, whereas these are only $15.99. It's a give and take situation, isn't it? The author can set the price. It's dealer's choice. Amazon pays you literally nothing if you're an indie author. And so why wouldn't you charge as much money as humanly possible? I understand. For the reader's pocket, it's not that great. But if you really love the book and you're obsessed with the book, you'll pay. You'll pay. I did. Obviously. If you have also been following me for a while, you will also know that almost all of the books that are featured on this channel have high reviews. Not generally speaking, but for me. If it's featured here, it means I enjoyed the book. Because typically I don't talk on here about books that I did not like. There have been a few that I thought were above average, and I did reviews endorsing them. And I have since had issues with the author personally, and therefore those reviews I will take down. But if they're still here, it means that I loved the book and I would recommend it to you guys. So, does that still stand for the authors that I don't like anymore? For the books, yeah. I feel I'm not mature in most areas, but I feel like I'm mature enough in this particular area to be able to say, I can separate the art from the artist in this case, and I can say that author's a shit human being. But the book was still good. Would I recommend that you read the book? Yes. Would I recommend that you pay the author for the book? No. Am I advocating piracy? No. But I'm not opposed to buying it secondhand on Mercari or one of those other used book sites, right? And then the person who originally paid the author will get the money for the book and not the author. You see? You see what I did there? Sometimes I use this. Not often, but sometimes. So, like I said, Nero is the first book in the Alliance series. There are currently 4 books in the series, as far as I know. I will read you guys the blurb, and then we can talk about it a little bit. This book is also available in audio format. I did the audio for this book. The audio is narrated by Chloe Ryan and Jack Callahan. I don't know if I've ever heard either of them in an audiobook before. It's quite possible that I have. And I just didn't recognize, I didn't put the name with the voice at that time. And so if you were to say, hey, did you listen to this audiobook? And I go, yeah. And you go, well, that was also Jack Callahan. And I would go, oh, I don't remember. You expect me to remember that? That was like 2 months ago. No, I don't remember. I don't think I've ever listened to them. If I have, then I have. I enjoyed both of their voices, actually. And that's saying something because usually I have a complaint about somebody. So the male narrator, Jack Callahan, his voice is very gravelly. His voice is very deep. His voice is hot. It's hot. During the spicy scenes. The way in book 2 that he says wife, We all love a good wife moment, right? My wife. Say less, as the kids say, right? So his voice is stellar. Her voice did not get on my nerves. And usually that's the most that I can ask for in a female narrator. Because 9 times out of 10, they get on my nerves. Why is that? I don't know. I honestly, I don't know. Probably because I'm more in tune with the man voice. I want to hear the man's voice. I want to hear him like express his feelings and his, you know, more so than the woman. Anyway, ooh, my little guy's got some shelfware. It's fine. Anyway, I'm going to read you guys the book. I'm going to read you guys the book. No, you don't want that. I'm going to read you guys the blurb. And then we can break it down a little bit. But first, I need a little bit more Dr. Pepper because dry mouth is real when you're on chronic pain meds. Okay. Now, let's go. Oh. So burp. Also, for reference, the paperback version of this book has 380 pages. Am I going to check to see if that's accurate? No. And I'll tell you why. Because I've come to the realization that Amazon is a liar. Most of the time, that page count is going to be different than what's in the actual book. And that is usually attributed to formatting. Amazon goes based off of the PDF file that's uploaded to KDP, which is like the author side of Kindle, right? And when it's formatted, that number changes, right? Because it's shrunk down to fit either this size book or what size is this? 8.5 by 5.5 or 5.5 by 8.5, whatever. It changes based on the size of the book, whether it's the Kindle version, paperback, hardcover, they're all different sizes. So therefore different word counts on every page, different total page count. Does that make sense? Okay, so the 2 main characters for this book are Peyton and obviously Nero, right? I'm going to read you guys the blurb, which I've said like 3 times and have yet to do it. So I'm going to do it right now. So we can move this along because 15 minutes in and I haven't said a fucking thing about the book. I warned you. Okay, so this book is dual POV. Thank Christ. Because if I had to read one more book that was just from female perspective, me. Listen, I'm a woman. I'm stuck in my own head all day. It's a nightmare. I don't want to be in the woman's head. I want to be in the man's head. I want to know what he's thinking. I want to know what he's feeling. I want his POV. When they're fucking, I want to know what's going through his mind. What is he feeling? I don't want to know if she's close to the edge. I don't care. Give me the man's POV in every sex scene. Give me the man's POV in every emotional scene. That's what I want. Give me the man's POV during the first meeting. That's what I want. Female POV, take it or leave it. Books with exclusively female POV or that have 1 or 2 chapters from the male's perspective and the rest is no. I'm sorry. It's nothing personal. Every author is different. Every author writes different. If that's what you're comfortable writing, write it. It's not for me. I want the man. I wanted this man. Okay, so the first chunk of the blurb is from Peyton's POV. And it says, running away from home at 17 wasn't easy. Let's face it, though. Nothing before or in the 10 years since has ever been easy for me. And I'm doing okay. Sorta. She's not. I just need to keep scraping by. Living under the radar, staying out of people's way, off people's minds. So when a man walks through my open patio door, stepping boldly into my home and my life, I should be scared, frightened, terrified. I'm intrigued. And I'm wondering if the way to take control of my life is by giving in to him. Nero. The first time I took a man's life, I knew there'd be no going back. No normal existence in the cards for me. So instead of walking away, I climbed a mountain of bodies and created my own destiny by forming the Alliance. And I was fine with that, content enough to carry on, until I stepped through those open doors and into her life. I should have walked away. I should have gone right back out the door I came through, but I didn't. And now her life is in danger. But that's the thing about being a bad man. I'll happily paint the streets red to protect what's mine. And Peyton is mine, whether she knows it or not. Okay. So, where to begin? My process, sorry for the shakeage, I'm moving my journal. My process for doing these reviews in the past has been to literally read verbatim what I wrote in my reading journal. It gives away literally the entire plot of the book. And it also gives it away in details that you probably wouldn't even ask for. Because my brain is just soup. And I write down the most ridiculous things in the most ridiculous patterns. So I'm not going to do that. What I am going to do is I'm going to tell you about this book. And I'm going to try and not make it like an hour and a half, even though we're already at 20 minutes. Okay. In this book, Nero, the main male character, is 40. Peyton is 27. Like I said, proper age gap, right? Nero is the one of, currently in this book, 2 leaders of what's called the Alliance. It is essentially, imagine like a crime syndicate that's not based on any particular culture. So it's not like Italian mafia or Bratva. It's like a step up from a gang. But like, you know, they do good stuff. They do bad stuff. But they also do good stuff, right? So I want to say I'm not entirely sure what the Alliance does in terms of, you know how in like most mafia books, right? The main male character or the leader of the mafia that happens to be the focal point of the book, they usually describe what it is they do in the mob, right? Whether it's, you know, drug trafficking or gun trafficking or, God forbid, human trafficking. Or, you know, like we get the majority of our income from a protection racket or gambling ring or whatever. These books don't go into great detail about what any of them do. I will say I didn't find the lack of that knowledge important. Like it didn't take anything away from the book. I honestly did not notice until all was said and done that she never mentioned that. What they do focus on is that they're very anti-human trafficking. And there are currently people in their territory that are trying to start up like a human trafficking enterprise. They don't know who they are. They don't know the mystery man behind the curtain of who's doing this. All they can do is systematically take down these little small meetings that are happening around their territory and that are like if a shipment of girls comes in, they like halt it, right? So that's what they're currently doing. Now, the second leader of the Alliance is more of a money man behind the scenes. In book 1, in this book, no one on the outside knows that King, the second leader of the Alliance, is a member of the Alliance. To the general public, he is a very staunch businessman, very good with money, very wealthy. And him and Nero know each other, but they're not friends. Behind the scenes, they are friends. They're literally best friends. So the book opens with Peyton, the main female character, being very remote, morose. I was going to say remote. That's not right. Being very morose on her apartment couch. She's living in a dingy apartment. It's not in a great neighborhood. She has a patio with like balcony doors, and she's having a very woe is me moment. And she's watching television with the patio doors open during a storm. And a guy comes into her apartment through her balcony, quickly followed by the sound of police cars. So clearly he's running from the law, right? He takes refuge in her apartment. She has like I'm gonna freeze moment. I don't know what to do. I'm terrified. This man just snuck into my apartment. He's humongous and dangerous looking and clearly a criminal. He sits down next to her on the couch, takes her bowl of popcorn, and proceeds to watch the movie next to her while he waits out the police. And she's just like a deer in the headlights, just sitting there frozen. Eventually, her terror and lack of fight or flight mode kicking in puts her in like a stasis, and she falls asleep next to him. While she sleeps, he gets up. He basically like snoops around her entire apartment, finds out who she is. She has a nightmare. He wakes her up. During the nightmare and during like him waking her up, she gives clear indicators that she's not having so much a nightmare. She is having a flashback of something that happened earlier in life. She's got trauma, right? She's got a lot of trauma. Her stepdad used to beat on her. Her mom was a neglectful POS. And she's currently hiding out from her stepfather because she ran away from home at like 17. I think 17. And she's been like many towns over, hiding out from them ever since. She has an irrational fear that her stepfather's going to come after her. And so he gets the clear indication, hey, somebody hurt you, right? And then like every obsessive man, right? He does the whole, who hurt you? I'm going to make them pay. He doesn't tell her that. He just does it. He's a man of few words and many actions. So from the jump, he's obsessed with her. And I found his version of obsession very cute. Because you know how you have those obsessive people, those obsessive guys, like, that you feel it in your bones, that they're like, touch what's mine and die, right? He is very much like that, but when he's in between those extremes, he's very, he does these little things that you just find so quirky and cute. Like, for instance, there's a scene where he's been watching her, right? He's literally camping out in the apartment across the street from her apartment, and he's watching her through binoculars. The other member of the Alliance, King, they're in the car together. He's watching her outside of her job. She works as a barista in a cafe. She barely makes like minimum wage. Like she's broke as a joke. She shops, she thrifts, she buys her clothes used, she's frugal, she doesn't spend money on shit. And obviously she doesn't have any extra money to spend. So she's working as a barista, and Nero is watching her in the car with King through the window of the cafe. King, being the funny man that he is, gets out of the car, like very much against Nero's wishes. He gets out of the car and he goes inside, and he orders something, shamelessly flirting, just to get a reaction. And he asks her, what's your favorite drink? she's like, what can I get you? And he's like, I'll take a black coffee. And what would you suggest? What's your favorite drink? And she's like, no one's ever asked me that before. My favorite drink is a coconut honey latte. Personally, I hate coconut, so that sounds really gross to me. But we're going to talk through the rabbit drinking water because I can't with him, okay? Yes, Freckles is still alive and well, being a menace to society in his house, okay? So he orders her favorite drink, and then he goes out to the car. He takes a black coffee for himself. He gives Nero the latte. Nero takes a sip. Blech, what the fuck is this that you served me? This is disgusting. He tries to take King's black coffee. King goes, oh, I thought you just might want to try your girl's favorite drink. And Nero does this thing where he's like, oh, well, it wasn't really that bad. And he takes the drink back and he drinks it. And I just found that so fucking adorable. Why? I don't know. But there's just something about it. And then when he's in her apartment for the first time, when he like first breaks in and she falls asleep on the couch, obviously he leaves while he leaves after he wakes her up from the nightmare. But during the time that she's asleep, he has snooped through her whole house and he steals her body wash because he's obsessed with the way she smells. He leaves money in its place. Everything he takes from her, her underwear, her body wash, whatever, he leaves like $100 or $200 in its place, which causes friction towards the end. Like, I'm not a whore. I'm not a prostitute. But I found that very cute. And the fact that he's obsessed with her scent, there's just something about that. Like a guy who's obsessed with the woman's smell. And like, I can't get enough of this. I need to bathe in her body wash. Sir. Yum. So anyway, he basically tells her after their first meeting, when he leaves the apartment that night, it's really dangerous, clearly, to leave your balcony doors open. You should not do that. And then very cryptically before he leaves, he tells her, if you leave them open again, I'll take it as an invitation. And then of course he camps out across the street from her apartment every night so that he can wait for his invitation. And eventually he gets the invitation because Peyton's 27, right? As I said before, Peyton is also a virgin. She overheard a plot with her stepfather and one of his friends that when she turned 18, he was planning on essentially selling her to the friend for sex. When she overheard this, that was the catalyst that it took for her to actually run away from home. So since that time, she has not had sex with anyone. Trauma, plus, I just haven't found the right one, right? Okay. She's tired of that. She's tired of being a virgin. She wants to know what sex feels like. She wants to know what passion feels like. And the only person that she's had any kind of attraction to since that time is Nero. So one night she has enough and she leaves her patio doors open. And sure enough, he comes in in more ways than one. None of the men in this series has ever heard the term birth control. Okay, which is fine by me because I have a breeding kink. We're not gonna talk about it. But yeah, so he comes in and he, in the dark, basically says, I'm going to fuck you. And I'm not going to be gentle. It's going to be rough. And she's like, well, if I tell him I'm a virgin, he'll leave. So I'm not going to tell him. And sure enough, he gets into it, realizes she's a virgin. Does that stop him? No, of course not. It makes him even more obsessed. Does he go a little bit easier on her? Not really. Should he have? Would I have expected him to? Yes. Like, at least slow down, sir. Slow down a little bit. But no, he doesn't. He just keeps going because now he's like voracious for her because he's the only one who's had it. And according to him, he's the only one who'll ever have it. They start up a secret relationship. She's plus sized. She thinks that he doesn't want to be seen in public with her because she's big. She has body issues, right? Low self-esteem, etc., etc. In reality, he doesn't want anyone to know that they're an item because he's afraid for her safety. There's someone out there who's after him or who's actively trying to take down the alliance. They have their little miscommunication bits here and there. And he tells her, "You're mine. We are together. I just can't tell anyone." These instances where he has the opportunity to present her to the world as his, and he chooses not to. He chooses to ignore her or pretend like he doesn't know her. And it hurts her because obviously she thinks that it's because he's ashamed of me. But that's not the case. So eventually that comes to a head. And he's like, my enemies obviously already know about you, because there's a particular incident where she gets invited to his birthday party. She thinks he left the invitation under her door. He didn't. Someone else invited her. So clearly his enemies know who she is. There's no point in hiding her after that, right? So yeah. So yeah, eventually it all comes to a head. They find out who is after him or who it has like a beef with him. And they take Peyton, this person, as you would expect. And then he goes full on psycho. Rally the troops. Call in all the guys. He owns a security company. That is his front for like the business world that people know him as. I'm not a crime boss, but I am a crime boss. But I also own Nero Security, which lends out security guards to here, there, and yonder, like social events and blah, 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 blah. That's his cover. That's his front for the government. That's how he pays his taxes. So he rallies all the troops, all of these security people who are low-key crime minions, and they storm the castle, right? King, who up to this point has been pretending in public like him and Nero are no more than acquaintances. He has no affiliation with the alliance, yada, 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 shows up to storm the gates with the cavalry with a bazooka. And he's like, bro, so the place she's being held is like gated, has like a huge security gate around it, right? And a fence and King just shows up with this giant bazooka and looks at Nero and's like, bro, you forgot your key. How are you going to get in without your key? In that moment, I was like, I love you. I definitely want to read your book. Which, luckily, his book was book 2. But anyway, they storm the gates. They get the girl back. The bad guy dies. They move on to the next drama, right? So that's essentially the overarching plot of the book. Now, what I disliked about the book. Like I said, overall, I loved this book. The whole book as a whole I would definitely give it a high rating. I loved it. I would recommend it to everyone. Me, myself, I have little nitpicking things that I do with every book. So what were my nitpicks for this book? The first thing I noticed, S.J. Tilley writes crazy short chapters. You'll look at the synopsis for this book and you'll go, dear God, how long is this book? Because it will tell you that there's like 130 something, 150 something. These books have an outrageous number of chapters. There's a reason for that, because she will do a chapter and switch POVs to the other character for literally a sentence. Chapter 37, Peyton, full chapter. Chapter 38, Nero, one word, fuck. Chapter 39, Peyton. The first time it happened, I thought there was a glitch in the audiobook. I thought when it transitioned from the one worded or the one sentenced chapter to the next one, I thought there was a glitch in something got cut out. What did I miss? Something else must have happened. No, it was literally just that. It didn't bother me. Once I got into the flow of it, it was fine. But it was something that I noticed right off the bat. Dear God, why did you do a whole chapter for one sentence or for one word? I found that very funny. Also, something else I noticed, she does in book one, she does one chapter from King's POV in the middle of the book. I found that very weird. I didn't dislike it. It threw me off. I was like, wait, what? She does that in, I think, book 2 as well. But it's a chapter from like a random Minions POV. I was shook. But again, it didn't throw me off. So these were like the little quirky things that I noticed that I was like, this is not, I've never seen that before, or very rarely have I seen. The only other author that comes to mind that did that was J.R. Ward, that I've read. And that was when you had POVs from the main 2 characters and then the villain, which may be normal in like romantasy books or like paranormal books or whatever, but that's the only author I've ever read that did that until now. So if you get into that, and if you get into this book and you run across that and you go, what the fuck? I warned you. It's there. It's a thing. So again, did it bother me? No. Did it make my brain hiccup? Yes. So, for the overall rating for the book, out of 10, I would give it a solid 8.5. Somewhere between 8.5 and 9. Because I loved Nero's obsessiveness. I found him adorable up to a certain point. There was one particular scene where it felt like he was thinking very irrationally for a man who has been thinking very rationally. Like, when I say rationally, I don't mean like he's not unhinged. I mean like he thinks strategically when it comes to danger, business, etc. But there was one particular scene after his birthday party where he seemed completely disconnected from right and wrong and reality and like what his next step should be. And what played out was a little bit unrealistic for me. But I feel like that happens a lot in books, and you have to take that with a grain of salt because it's fiction, and you can get away with things in fiction you can't get away with in real life, and you can't apply many of the rules that in real life to these types of books, because if you did, everyone would be in jail. Right? Am I right? So yeah, 8.5, somewhere between 8.5 and 9 out of 10. Would I recommend this book to other people? Yes. Would I recommend this series to other people? Yes. Like I said before, I'm up to book 4. So far, book 3 has been my favorite. And when I get to that review, we're going to talk about it. But what I liked about the series is that for every book so far, the book I'm currently reading has surpassed the book before in like my estimation. So book 2 I was reading was certain you couldn't outdo Nero. And then I ended up loving King more. And then the same thing goes for Dom, who's book 3. I fell in love with him. I liked him better than King. It's like a progression. And if you read it, I think you'll get the same vibes. But yeah, I think that's it. I'm going to stop talking now because 45 minutes. If that's not a welcome back, I don't know what is. Thank you for joining me for another review. I really appreciate it. If you would like, you can follow me on social media. I do have a members only Facebook group that I never post in because obviously I've not been active in quite some time. I am, however, very active on Instagram and I post there pretty much every day. So if you want, you can follow me on Instagram. You can also follow me on Threads and I will link them all in the description box below if I feel like it. If I can muster the will, I'll put a banner here on the screen for you guys to see as well with my usernames. If you would like to see more reviews like this, if you don't mind my blathering, my rambling, my sidetrackedness, that's not a word, ignore that, you can subscribe. And hopefully I will be putting out more reviews like this. Okay? I thank you guys again for joining me so much, and I love you, and I will see you in my next one. Bye. Let's get into it. Let's get into it. My lighting is down because I've come to the realization that the heightened light accentuates all of my flaws. So we're gonna try and not do that. Okay? Let's get into it. I'm gonna try because I'll be honest, I feel very shit. But we're gonna try. Don't pay attention to my jowls. I'm getting old. That's not what you're here for. You're not here to look at my face. I mean, you are. And I appreciate you. But that's not what we're here to talk about. Let's talk about what we're here to talk about. Be chill. Be chill. You're fine. You've done this a million times before. Don't be nervous. Okay. Well, hi there, my little baby. No, stop. No, let her talk. And another one down, and another one down. Another one bites the dust. It's not another one because it's just one. But it's one more than I had yesterday, or for the last 9 months. Okay. I'm gonna stop now. I love you. Come back next time. I'm gonna review King. Okay? I will talk to you later. Bye. Clickety click. Click, click, click. Clickety click. I haven't clicked it yet. No, I'm gonna click it.